Hi, I'm Chris Hayes with the Mesa Fire and Medical Department. I'm here today with Captain Scott Figgins from the Wellness Division and Captain Greg Adams from the Safety Division to talk to you about the rehab process.
So it's important to note with the rehab process that we understand that rehab is a multifaceted approach to our members' overall health and wellness. And really what that means is we need to focus on each component of rehab, from washdown all the way through the process of doffing our gear and then going into the formal rehab, getting 2 sets of vitals, allowing our members to get that rest replenishment.
It's important to note that as we take a valley-wide approach to the rehab process, that there has been some terminology changes and procedural changes as well.
And this multifaceted approach can also be used at the crew-based level. So everything that's outlined in our rehab SOPs and that we're trying to do on this can be done from a single company trash fire, car fire, or even a rescue event, so that we're taking care of ourselves on every scene, not just the major scenes.
If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the Wellness Division, Captain Scott Figgins, or the Safety Division, Captain Greg Adams. We hope you enjoy the video.
So as we look at rehab and all the components that go into it, one of the things we want to be on the forefront of everybody's mind is the products of combustion and the various chemicals that we are exposed to. As you see here, wood specifically exposes our firefighters to arsenic, benzene, formaldehyde, dioxins, TCDDs, and several other toxic chemicals. Plastics expose our firefighters to benzenes, PCBs, cadmium, dioxins, fuels, PAHs, benzenes, PCBs, and as you can see from the list, there are several other chemicals and other products of combustion that generate these chemicals. So as we move out of the fire and we progress toward washdown, or what NFPA is calling PER, which stands for Preliminary Exposure Reduction, we want to be cognizant that, like the overall rehab process, this is a multifaceted approach to protecting our members from the carcinogens and toxic chemicals that we're exposed to on a regular basis with car fires, trash fires, structure fires, etc. When we get to that washdown bucket, it's important that we have all the contents. Those contents include a sprayer, a hose, discharge port adapter, dish soap, a brush, medical gloves, wet wipes, potentially a seat cover, and 6 mil bags to put your turnouts in for transport back to the station or to be sent in for cleaning. When conducting washdown, it's important that the engineer or whoever is initiating the washdown process is breathing air and has appropriate PPE to protect them as well. We want to see a lot of soap in that bucket in order to ensure that it attaches to the carcinogens and helps remove those carcinogens. Additionally, the hose and nozzle should be set 50 feet from the truck. The important thing to consider here as well, we want to get as much soap and water on that person and their turnouts without getting water or saturating the inner liner of the turnouts. A recent study in the Journal of Environmental Hygiene shows that by just using soap and water, we can effectively remove 85% of the carcinogens that are attached to our turnouts. So this process is vital in helping to minimize the contaminant risk and exposures that are associated with firefighting. And then as we progress through the washdown process, we're able to have that brush be taken over by a different member of the crew as they're coming out, and this will help expedite the process. Once the person is completely brushed down with soap and water, we want to start rinsing them off. During the entirety of washdown, we really want to be hyper-focused on not getting soap and water or any of the washdown from the hose inside of the turnouts. We do not want to saturate that inner liner, but we do want to focus on making sure that the turnouts are wet, saturated with soap, and then rinsed off. So once our firefighters are done with the washdown process, they're going to move to the doffing zone. This is where we're doffing all of our gear, and we're doing so in a systematic process to ensure that we continue to protect ourselves from those exposure risks associated with the contaminants and carcinogens that we still might be off-gassing. So we're going to start with removing our helmet, then we're going to remove our gloves. Once we remove our gloves, we're going to use the wet wipes to clean our hands while removing our thumbs from any loops that might be attached to our turnouts. At that point, we'll put 2 pairs of medical gloves on because we're going to be doffing 1 pair of medical gloves later on in the process. At that point, we're going to remove our pack while still staying on air. so it might help to kneel down, especially if you're a taller individual. Then we're going to remove our coat and our Nomex. We're going to loosen our bunker pants, and then we're going to doff one pair of those medical gloves. And this is because we want to have a clean pair as we use our hands on the inside of our turnouts, because we're going to be hugging those hands down each leg to shed those bunker pants. Once we step out of our boots, we want to have sandals there if available. And then finally, the last thing we're going to do is remove our mask. Of course, in the process, we need to be cognizant at some point we're going to have to shut that bottle off and deactivate the pass device. It's important that we do not allow turnouts to go beyond the doffing area. In other words, we should not be taking bunker pants into the formal rehab area where we're going to be sitting down for that rest, rehydration, etc. From the doffing zone, we want to ensure we are cleaning and cooling ourselves. So cleaning is going to start with the wet wipes. We're going to ensure that we clean our hands, our forearms, our arms, our head, face, ears, neck, jaw, throat, and really try to get those underarms, armpit area. After we're done cleaning, we want to look at cooling techniques. And we're talking about active cooling. With that, we could have forearm immersion, we could have misting fans, cool caps or wet towels, and of course we could have a rehab vehicle or the cab of our apparatus if need be to help ensure that we are in a cool environment. One other thing that we want to consider though for colder climates would be heaters and blankets. And then of course having that rehab vehicle or the cab of our apparatus available as well if the elements dictate so. So as you see here with the forearm immersion, we've stuck a plastic bag in there so that it minimizes any cross-contamination from ourselves into the bucket. We're not going to be able to remove all the carcinogens with these wet wipes. Studies show that the wet wipes remove 50 to 75% of the carcinogens, and as such, if we continue to use the same bucket or immersion tub, then we're going to likely be putting carcinogens in that, and then it becomes a carcinogenic trough, if you will. And so the next people that come, we're going to be exposing them as well. And as a measure to ensure that we are not being wasteful with the bags, we're then going to use those bags later on to put our turnouts in. Once we have cleaned and cooled ourselves, then we are going to go into the formal rehab location. This is where we have our seats set up. We've got hopefully a crew. What we're looking for is we're looking for the rest, hydration, electrolyte and calorie replacement, cooling or warming depending upon the climate, medical monitoring, and what that really means is we're getting vitals. 2 sets of vitals is ideal, 20 minutes in rehab is ideal, and those vitals should include an SPCO. In the event that our vitals are outside of range, based off of our respective SOPs, we may be making one of those members an emergency medical patient. As such, we want to be cognizant of the emergency medical care that may be taking place inside of rehab. Rehab is also an opportunity to address everyone's mental wellness, especially with high-stress incidents. We also want to track accountability, consider exposure reporting and documentation, and then of course there's going to be that release. It's also important that we have a mechanism in place for standardized tracking for vitals and all the members that are coming into rehab and being released. When addressing rehydration, we need to be cognizant of the humidex as well as increased physical activity, which is going to create a greater demand for that rehydration and the amount of fluids that we're taking in. Under normal circumstances, we should be looking at approximately 80 ounces of fluid each day without having those be factors. Rehab vehicles or buses afford us the ability to move outside of the elements, whether it's hot or cold, into a climate-controlled environment where we can continue to rest, hydrate, have that medical monitoring, obtain vitals, etc. So as a recap, rehab is a multifaceted approach to taking care of our members' overall health and wellness, while adding the individual accountability component of our members having a go bag for a change of clothes, wearing gloves underneath their work gloves while loading hose or just with handling any hazardous items, and getting back to the station and showering within the hour. We hope you enjoyed the video. Stay safe out there.